Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're just waiting for some more of our audience to join and our panelists for today to click in here. How you doing, Pete?
Doing great. On the slide you see on the screen there is a QR code, and that's direct access to the show we did on Tuesday. So if you want to watch that video, and of course we'll have this video up for this show in a day or so.
Excellent. Hey, Mac.
Good morning.
Great to see you.
I guess it's not morning anymore.
No, I guess technically it's afternoon, but you know, these days, who knows?
I'm just
Somebody's
pretending.
gonna be watching it somewhere in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
I just had breakfast, so you know.
There you.
I think about it being morning.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we just giving a little extra time for folks to keep joining here, but another like Pete alluded to, this is part 2 of our discussion with Donny and Matt from Showcode with the SoundBase project. A lot of great questions. If you didn't get a chance to see that episode, you can pick that up from our website. I get a YouTube link there. Really great product that's just starting. It's ever evolving, right? And the two words that we kept talking about were collaboration and community. And I think if you think about the live event space and the production community and even recording the broadcast, whatever that is, we're all in very tight-knit communities. We're in the sense of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and the expectation of sharing information. I think especially this 2 years almost now since the first COVID kind of shutdown of our industry really sparked a complete rethink in many areas, and where it's brought new things. It also at the same time caused us to look at how we were doing our workflows, and is there a better way? And I think as we're going to see with SoundBase, this is one of those products that's evolving to say, well, what do you need to do differently? We're here to help figure that out. It's kind of exciting because they're probably one of the most responsive folks that we've seen in the marketplace to that. But before we launch into that, Mac, why don't we talk about Q&A? And we are on a slightly different platform now, so talk us through that.
Well, it is slightly different, and we are still all about Q&A. So your questions will drive really the next couple of hours of presentations. So please ask your questions. There's a little Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. And you can just type in your questions there. I think most of us have multiple monitors and have the Q&A screen open all the time, so we will see the questions in real time. We will answer some of them in real time, but it's possible your question may get answered later, either at the end when we have a Q&A session, or if we stop in the middle for a Q&A session. But most of the questions have tended to be answered fairly close to real time. So you just type your questions in the Q&A box, and everyone will see that. All the panelists will see it. Other attendees, I believe, do not see all the questions, but all the panelists do. So put your questions in. We'll answer them as close to real time as we can, but we will get every question answered before the end.
We're going to post all these questions along with the video. And in the spreadsheet of questions, there will be a time into the video that you can see, oh, that question was answered at 23 minutes and 35 seconds. And then you can go and find it. So it's pretty self-explanatory. The question list does list everybody's email, and we're going to edit those out. So it'll be your name, but no email. So you'll be secure in your anonymity, sort of.
Well, obviously Pete's a video editor at heart, and loves his details. You'll see we're joined today again by Matt and Donny from the SoundBase product and show code technically. And we've picked up another panelist for today, and we'd like to welcome Eric from Sound Associates to our panel discussion. We're a little later on, we're going to get into the real life applications of SoundBase on Broadway in New York. And Eric's going to walk us through how he's using a single project to consolidate 30 plus shows.
Let's see. More than that.
More than that. So we're already there. I'm underselling the show right now. But the point is we're going to see some great real life examples of both what's going on Broadway. We'll talk about some of the real challenges of collaboration. Collaboration is a cool word to say. It's actually quite a difficult word to implement in many ways, right? It's not just the technical. We're going to find the human challenges of collaboration and get those some ideas around there. And then Eric also going to talk to us about touring shows and how he uses SoundBase for RF coordination of these shows in a touring application. So not just your static. But before that, everybody saw those couple cool icons in SoundBase that of Nexus and Harmony, and we're going to lead off with Nexus, which I think the neat thing about Nexus, and Matt, I think you can I think you've got a few things to show us there, perhaps on that screen. Documentation in our business is what it's all about, right? If you can't share your information, first and foremost, whether we're talking to hardware or not talking to hardware, everything still starts with documentation, starts in a Word document, Excel document, a Google Doc, whatever that is. And why don't you kind of talk to us about this feature? Because one of the neat things I like about SoundBase is it's something that I see spending years using, right? Because it has this ability to provide new functionality and roles that maybe intersect that we don't see directly right now, or some things that we do. So why don't you kind of take us from here, Matt, and talk to us about what we're looking at?
Sure. So for those of you who missed the last one, this is SoundBase. This is a projects page for SoundBase where you can launch any of your projects from. So with the open button over here, we can launch into Nexus. Now this project Donny used, this is a copy of the project that Donny used for the Latin Grammys. And you'll notice it just looks very similar to something like Pete's Google Sheet that he uses. Department, multiple columns for all these different ideas and concepts. But what Nexus provides is a little more customization for the user. Just like everything we've built in SoundBase, it's built for the user by the user. So a lot of these features, Don or the guys at PWS would come up with, and we implemented them for them. So the core functionality of Nexus is just like a Google Sheet with some added flair to it. So in SoundBase projects, you'll always have a site. You have a project, which is Latin Grammys, and then a site, which up here we can see is main show. And then if I click this, you can see main show and pre-show. So we have two different sites for organizing information differently. In Chord, you would then have a zone beneath your site. For each of those sites, there can be a zone. And in Nexus, a zone level, we consider that to be an area type. That can be your wireless, your hardwired, your listen only, your IFBs, your radios, just a way to organize your information so you don't have a massive sheet and with many tabs, or, you know, just to keep it organized. Going down one step further, you have the actual device itself. See Bolero here, and we've got another one for RAD. And you can create, just like all the other SoundBase apps, everything has a plus button, a settings button, etc. That each of these things can be edited. So it's kind of a conformed user interface. So in this instance, we can see that we've got all these belt packs. What have we got? 64 Bolero belt packs. We have exactly what channels are being used. If you hover over them, you can see, you know, what channel they are, what mode they are. If you click on a channel selector, this just gives you an easy way to select the function, channel, mode, volume of each button. That's one of those custom features that we built for SoundBase. I know some Google Sheets just have multiple columns for that, and this just adds like a little bit, another layer on top. We also have profiles, which you're used to if you're using Bolero or FreeSpeak, which are just a set of channel assignments that can be applied to multiple rows. So you can manage your profiles with this button up here. We can see these are all the profiles that we have in this show. And if you want to see what channel assignments are in this profile, you can click the config icon, and we can see that anyone who has the TV A2 profile assigned has these buttons, assignments: music, audio on channel 2, talk, always listen. So that's another layer on top that we've added that helps you on top of a Google Sheet. So now if I was going to say start a new show or add a new person, I could do it manually here just by adding a row.
Before we go on, I had one quick question. If somebody's in a profile and you want to make one of their channels be different than the rest of the people in the profile, do you have to create a new profile, or can you just make one channel unique for them?
You can, how does that work? If I want to change this guy and change it from stage manager to creative, does it let me? Yeah.
But now the other people in Pyro still have their regular channels, right?
Correct.
Correct, Pete. It's just like Bolero. When you edit in, you can assign a profile, but then additively make changes.
Now, when you go, if you click on one of those entries, like a stage Ma, double click on it, and you make any change in one of these blue boxes, like change the volume, for instance, but this box reflects the profile, or does it reflect the actual belt pack?
You can see up here, it says key assignments for Miguel. And
right.
This is the profile area of this
right.
belt pack. And it says there's none applied. So that's telling us any change we make in this screen will only apply to Miguel's belt pack because he doesn't have a profile applied to it.
And that got assigned to it because we made the red change down below. The profile was unassigned to that belt pack.
No, this one just never had a profile assigned to it. You don't have to have a profile assigned to a row if you don't want.
Well, look at one of the ones that has a profile with a bunch of other people with profiles.
All right, so Steady.
Right.
There we go. Steady is used by a lot. We see that he's got a profile that's called Steady.
Now, if you make a change in one of these boxes.
So this is Hue, and we're going to change it to producer instead of cams on Hue.
Right. He's still got the profile Steady.
Right.
But when you go back and look at the enters, he got, where is that line?
Prod.
Edit prod. Okay.
Yeah. Now he's prod.
Now, if you go to the Steady profile, and make a change in channel 1 to anything else.
This now will
make it change to something
else.
Make it a change to something other than producer.
How about I make it a different color?
Right.
It's now monitor.
But now that's going to edit everybody with that profile, including Steady, who was set to be production.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay. So you have to be careful when you edit somebody in a profile that you don't want to edit the profile to change them.
We're adding, this is something that Donny brought up that we need to add. When you're editing for a person like this situation where we have a profile assigned, and now I'm going to make a custom change for Rob L. We're going to pop a little button over here that says, do we want to update the entire profile? Do we want to remove the profile from Rob L? You know, because there's a bunch of different options that you can do when
Or
when you
make a
that
new
change.
profile just for the spell pack.
Exactly. So
Right,
that's something we didn't get pushed today, but it's already in
That's
progress.
a good idea. I had this issue in my standalone Bolero system last week.
Okay.
So yeah, so something to note, you can currently kind of do that, Matt, if you open up the channel assignment window. And then if you were to just hit remove right there, and then hit the plus button, you can actually create a new profile right from there. But we will add the edit button to edit the profile right from that screen.
Yeah, now I made a new custom profile, and then it applied it and it showed in the column. So these are just the kind of like niceties that this offers over a Google Sheet. You know, so you can add blank rows and you can type names and stuff. We have little niceties like type ahead for departments, you know, audio, you know, various options there. You can create your own. So kind of nothing too crazy over Google Sheet there.
How does it
The things that we
export?
wanted, so just like all the other SoundBase apps, we've got read-only views that you can just open in a browser.
Can you export it as an XLS file?
What I have for you is the CSV that is, yeah, an XLS file, and we can then import that right into your P-Touch template and it as a database.
Right.
So you can print labels and stuff.
Well, the T-Touch needs an XLS X file. So
Oh,
Why
this
don't you
one-
show
this one-
Pete that now? Why don't you show that to Pete on that? We actually
Okay.
downloaded from Best Audio Pete's template instead of using the SoundBase template for this demonstration.
I'm trying to share my other screen. Yeah, I can't get it shared on Zoom,
And
but it works exactly the same as you'd expect. You just import the database file
yep.
right from here, and it's done.
when you're entering each of these lines here and you're entering people for monitors, other than setting them to the same profile, is there a way to copy a bell pack and paste it to another bell pack?
And like the entire row's details. Or-
Possibly, yeah.
Well, so the way we have copy paste set up, let me go to the RAD because there's less rows. So, you know, in Google Sheets, how you've got at the edge of the cell, you can click and drag to copy and paste. That doesn't exist in this sheet. And there's a reason for that. It's because all of these are kind of like custom values. Stage manager refers to an actual position called stage manager, which you can then edit that in dashboard. So if I want to change globally across my project what a stage manager is called, I only have to edit it in one location and it ripples down to all the other areas. So if I want to copy stage manager from say row 12 to row 13, I can select it, you know, and then copy values from selected, and then I can just bulk paste. So now anytime, say I'd want to change the name of stage manager, I would do that in, dashboard's disabled for right now, but I would make that change in dashboard and it would update accordingly across the app.
What is dashboard?
Dashboard's where it's kind of your global data entry point. So that's where you're going to
for everything in SoundBase?
Everything in SoundBase. That's positions, departments, equipment names. You know, if you wanted to change your headset list from whatever we have to whatever you want it to be, you would do it in dashboard.
Eventually, will this program Bolero and or Free Speak directly?
Yes.
We've
Both
already,
via
excuse me, Matt. We've already been working with ClearCom on doing the CCA files, importing and exporting, and we're hoping to actually release that soon.
Terrific.
Yes, though at this point it's just the import export, just kind of like how we've done with Wireless Workbench and Chord. But that feature set will exist for when we're actually using the SoundBase system bridge, so that you can actually talk to hardware that way.
Matt, I can share my P-Touch editor if you want me to share my screen.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. So Donny imported the Bolero.csv into his P-Touch editor, and you just can populate the fields as you would normally from an Excel sheet.
Yeah, you're using the Mac based printer screen as opposed to the PC based.
Yeah, but it still will export out to the correct format, so you can import it as a database.
Right. The PC based has 16 different screens, and the Mac based has only one.
You're never happy, Pete.
Never happy.
Never.
This is absolutely terrific. I think you have
Absolutely
planted my use of Google Sheets with this easily.
And that's kind of the thing, right? It's like Google Sheets is so great. So like Matt and I are trying to think of like, how can we make this product worthwhile for people to actually use? We think there's a lot of value in that. Everything, like all your audio for your entire show or project, all lives in one spot. There's a lot of value there. But then to actually make it worthwhile, to actually fill out instead of, because Google Sheets is just so great,
Yeah.
Google Sheets, Excel. So it's adding in all these little things. We're trying to make it worthwhile.
We had a question from Andre Rivera. Is there a way to link Nexus and Chord? Because he's thinking he wants to keep his wireless mic list in Nexus. And what he'll see as soon as we go to Chord is you already have your wireless mic list in Chord. So you don't have to use Nexus for your wireless mic list.
So there is a column type that I am working on the implementation of, your frequency column, and we'll be able to link a row in Nexus to a frequency in Chord, and then they'll remain in sync. So that's the answer. It's just not completed yet because we need more. The core thing with Nexus is we need more users. Like you said before we started this, Pete, there's only like 5 people in the US doing shows that are large enough for this. And getting the feedback is really important. So if someone wants to track their theater microphones using Nexus and use it along with Chord, we're all for that. We'll help you do that. Jump on our Discord and let's chat it out, and we'll get these features done for you so that it's useful. There's a couple more features in Nexus that I just want to briefly go over that are going to add value to why you'd want to use Nexus. And that is the comms request form. So like most people, they'll send out either an email asking what people are going to be on the show to their tech manager, or what comms assignments they want. Pete had mentioned that he'll share editing capabilities on a Google Sheet with some technicians, and there's sometimes conflicts there. So we built a little system in the group level called requests. And this is a unique URL for this particular group. And when we enable it, just like all other SoundBase fields like this, you can enable it, you can password protect it. We've got a QR code that you can view. And this is just a unique link to capture information for this group only. Let me just quickly fill this out. So right off the bat, we're just going to collect name, email. At least one of these has to be filled out, or else we can't continue. And as you saw, as soon as I filled this in correctly, it populated the next step of the form. So now I'm just going to fill out, these are now I'm going to add my users or my crew members using this form right here. And you can fill out some of this or none of it, whatever you want to do. But the idea is to collect all the crew members that are going to be using this equipment. And a lot of these forms in Nexus in general are all very keyboard centric. So like if I'm in any of these fields and I press enter, it's going to automatically add a row down here, and then it's going to put me back into this field just to try to improve the workflow. So now that I'm Mr. Tech Manager and I'm setting up my crew members, if I have the information at hand, I can even set the channels for each of the people. So here I'm working for Miss A1. I'm going to set her belt pack up for her, just as an example here.
And the reason there's only 4 buttons there is because this is the RAD profile that Matt is sending a request for. So every device type, you would send a request out.
And I can toggle through the crew members. If I've got a whole massive list, I can just go to the next crew member and assign their buttons accordingly.
And all of the actual things from this list you pulled down right there, channels you can actually add or added in dashboard?
The channels are added in Nexus. I can show you that.
But are also viewable in dashboard. And you have the option to hide the channel selector for the requestee. So because sometimes as the comms guy, you don't want people requesting what channels they want because they'll just add everything. They'll fill the entire 6 buttons or 8 buttons. So you have the option to hide that actual column channels from the request link just by clicking right there.
This button here, yeah. By default, it's enabled because we think it's kind of cool. But like Don said, it's probably not that helpful. So once your tech manager filled everything out, your producer, whatever, save it. And now they're done with their part of the job until it's time for you to program them.
Is there a way for the tech manager to send these requests line by line to each person?
Not at the moment. I was thinking about doing a link, kind of like you would share this link out and then say, hey, enter your name in there and don't press save until the tech manager says we're done, so that you could send it out to your entire crew and just say, input all your channel assignments and then let me know when you're done. And then he can then sign off on it. And now it shows up as a request in Nexus here. You see it's from Mr. Tech Manager.
I think that more often you'd want to have your tech manager assign all the people that are on various panels, belt packs, and wireless, and let them edit the channel selectors, but only the channel selectors and maybe the headset type.
Yeah, that's totally doable.
Yeah, I was wondering with the headset type, just being greedy, what are the chances I could get like icons of the type of headset, right?
Like
Here's
single ear, double ear,
double ear, sound reducing models, right? Things like that, because a lot of times, while we're very familiar with part numbers, a lot of the people just come to me and go, I want that one that I had last time. And sometimes I'm tempted to just have lots of flashcards and go, is this what you were talking about? Do you have one of these?
Yeah.
One of those? Which one of these would you like?
Yeah, so we were also thinking too, like, do we make a advanced request form and then a simple request form? One could just be like single muff, double muff, heavyweight, lightweight.
Right.
Or do we, and then the advanced one can actually let you choose exactly what headset model you have. Maybe that's more for like a tech manager, or so like
I do like that because, I could, if you put in single, double, heavy, sound reducing, then I can go in later once this is assigned to a vendor and say, okay, well, what does that equal in your inventory, right? And then over in the dashboard, you could go through and say, well, single equals this, double equals this, and then all of a sudden now you got your inventory list, right?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
You want to have an entry that is user provides their own headset.
Yeah,
It'll
we have a
accept
personal Yeah, it'll accept custom. People write personal. That's like what we did. PWS used Nexus for Latin Grammys the past 2 years, and that's how, because usually the table where comms are passed out is usually on the other side of the arena from where the actual comms engineer is. So this is how they can kind of stay in sync. And then Matt will show the check-in, check-out, and they can know exactly which headsets are out and pick updates and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great.
So that we just collected some information. So now we got to do something with it. And this will be your list of requests that people have submitted. And you can click on this icon here and it'll show you the details of what was submitted. We can see we can ignore the request if we want, we can delete it. We can add all entries or add one by one. If you add one and then add all, it'll only add the unadded ones. So I can add them. And now, since I added all three, the status of this request is added. We're done with our data entry, and we see that there's no icon over here that says we have any pending requests. So that's kind of like our thought process on collecting information ahead of time, and now you've got it in your table, and it should speed up workflow. So let's say we sort out this exporting to FreeSpeak. You've got your belt packs programmed, you're ready to hand them out. Some people stop information collecting at that point, whether they're going to mark the belt pack in or out. I think it's really cool to keep track of who's got what and when it left and everything. So what we've made for that is a check-in, check-out system. Now, this is just going to do a status change on this column for whatever device ID we enter into our check-in, check-out. Kind of just like an inventory system at your local shop. I can look up based on any text, any unique text column. So I'm going to do device ID. And then my destination status. Am I checking in or checking out? Everything is currently in. So in this demonstration, I'll be handing my belt packs out at this table where everybody's swarming me, wanting their belt pack. And rather than having to sort through this massive list of 64 rows and trying to find Anna Paula's belt pack row and mark it, I can just type in belt pack 12 and it's going to update successfully the status. And now we go back to our table and we see, oh, Cody was just marked out. So that's kind of for information tracking purposes. At the end of the show, when you got to collect everything, that's an added bonus for Nexus.
So here's a question I have for you. While that checkout in and out is pretty awesome. What are the chances I could add a QR code to a belt pack, and then as people are walking out, they can do a scan in and scan out, right? So that
you got it, Kelly. That's exactly what we're going. So, yep. So
sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yep. So it's kind of like we have a wireless, and then you have the radios option.
Right.
So you actually could put the serial number or the asset ID number. You just get a scanner that's hooked up like a keyboard. And as you probably notice, after you check in or check out or change the status in that modal, it refocuses that input box. So you could just keep scanning and scanning and scanning. So imagine like if you're doing radios, you could just, as everyone's coming in, you can just scan them all in and you know exactly which ones came in. And just like recalc history, we plan to add a status history. So you can actually open up a modal, see when people checked in and checked out and all that.
Very nice.
And I think that's going to be more valuable, or it's kind of a generic feature that could be valuable across many areas. You know, whether you're doing walkies, maybe you're doing theater and you're like one guy and you're only one A2 in a community theater and you're trying to track a bunch of belt packs, and you can like train your actors to use the barcode scanner when they pick up their mic, so you know who's got what. I don't know.
Right.
There's a bunch of different ideas there.
Yeah.
But so I guess there's a couple other features in these dialog windows if you want to poke around. Most notably, columns are very configurable. We're trying to take the hint that people may not like Donny and my workflows, and we want to make it customizable so that it works for you. You can, change the column names. You can set background colors. You can do conditional styling so that when something is in the audio department, the entire row is going to be yellow. We have some defaults set here for the status column because that's a pretty common one, we think, where people will want to call their attention to the status of an item. And then the last silly kind of feature is a flagging system. So in Don's situation, where you've got a table across the room from you, and you just need to call attention to a bunch of rows. You can select them and then flag them, and then they populate orange. There's a lot of different features here, and just trying to make it as usable as possible.
That flagging would show on any copy of this page that's open.
Exactly.
But Matt,
again, sorry, what?
Why don't you show the autofill?
Oh, right.
Column?
Right. Yeah. So that's the other reason that we don't have the drag and drop corners, because that's only like a incremental kind of way that it works in Google Sheets. So we can autofill or auto enumerate. We can auto enumerate just like we can in Chord. I can do all rows or not. In this instance, what column am I on? Belt device ID.
You were sitting on 12.
Yeah, we can do something like this. You can have a suffix. I don't have any of the rows selected for belt pack ID. And all the checkboxes are, you can press shift. You can click one, hold shift, and then click another, and it'll select the range, kind of like you'd expect from most applications. And so that auto enumerated that. I can auto fill the headsets if I know everybody's going to take the same headset. I have these options here. I can just autofill everything, the selected or just the blank ones.
Yeah, and so the autofill is conditional depending on which column you're in. So if you're in position, it'll show you all your positions that are in your database. If you're in department, all your departments, and etc.
Yeah.
When you did your autofill, the selected belt packs went away. I would prefer to have it stay checked until I cleared it.
Okay.
Because I'm usually going to edit several different things in that row.
Hang on, noting it.
And when you're customizing these things, you're changing names of columns and stuff. This can all be set in a template that you just, this is just your workflow. And whenever you open a new show file.
So file management is where that's going to happen at the site level. We'll take feedback if people don't like it at the site level, if it needs to be at the person's account level, which I think it might end up being. It's disabled on production right now, but I can show you an example of what it could look like because it's very similar to Chord, where you can export the site and then you can import the site. Same way, it's going to have options. Do you want to keep all the data with it, or do you just want the template? Do you just want your settings? So yeah, there's going to be import export options. And if you notice, this is the Latin Grammys file, and I was just in the Latin Grammys coordination. Everything in the same file.
And you can jump to pre-show.
Yeah, so this has the two sites, main show and pre-show. So here's my mics and my IFBs. So yeah, I think that's a rough overview of Nexus. Hopefully we get some more user feedback on what is usable, what's not usable. It just takes playing with it and tweaking on it to really get the workflow to be what you need it to be.
And Matt, can you just quickly show like adding a new wireless device, how we have the built-in pre-built devices? Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, so we've got some basic button, we know the number of buttons and how many characters can fit on each button for these types of devices. You can also just create your own. But yeah, if we wanted to add a FreeSpeak 2.4, it's going to put 4 buttons. Come on, buddy.
What if you're adding a KP32?
So you wouldn't do that from your wireless area, right?
Okay, and hardwired,
So here we got device type.
right?
What do you, we've got a bunch.
But not
Again,
enough columns to put all the keys in.
so we're working on a UI for that. So if I'm going to do an RCP 1128, I open up my button list and it goes on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're currently that's in our next release. We're working on the hardwire section right now. So we're probably going to make it each row actually each row 2 rows high. So
2 rows
you have
high,
the buttons
right.
underneath, because some of these panels have like the Riedel panel, the smart panels have 32 keys.
What you might also want to do is give the user the ability to put the columns in a different order, like drag the device type to right after name instead. So all they care about is their name and the belt packs on the and the what's on their keys.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, right?
Oh, look, he made that change for you right there, Pete.
That is amazing.
Done,
This company is
right?
so responsive. I cannot believe it.
And Pete, I'm not sure that having on this screen having the keys on a KP32 is going to be particularly useful, since
I do a spreadsheet with KP32s on it all the time, and I fit it on one screen.
What happens when the guys in the truck change their panels, which they do all the time?
Well, they're given the access to that spreadsheet to pre-select what they want before they get to the truck, so I can program it.
So we also came up with the idea of like a hybrid where you can kind of expand down. You press like an arrow down and then it expands down, shows you all your keys.
Right.
Actually,
Obviously,
so it's not always right there.
Obviously, once people get in the truck, all bets are off. They're going to make their panels whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. I think the key here is, we're talking about that architecture, right? When you're starting out a project, when, to just kind of fold back into the collaboration to say, okay, we all know this. As soon as we get on show site, it's like when you're boxing, everything's great until you take the first hit, and then all bets are off after that, right? And shows are very similar, right? We want to go in with as much organization as we possibly can, and then the chaos ensues, right? And I like that check-in, check-out feature set you were talking about there, because that segment of our market on site is really ripe for ways to better manage that. I mean, if you think about just the inventory loss that happens on something as simple as a headset, right, at $150 a pop, or at $215, or just the headache of chasing down equipment and an hour of overtime for somebody that's literally running around in an arena, right?
I find that if you take credit cards when people pick up their headsets, they usually come back. So
that does help better. So later on, maybe we'll talk about another episode and
Exactly.
where the credit card swiper belongs, and how to integrate that with your PayPal and Stripe accounts and all those kind of things.
These lists, can they print out as PDFs or just to a regular printer and have a nice spreadsheet of it?
The goal is to do reports just like Cord. Yes. I just didn't get it for this demo.
Yeah.
The templating system, we use a service called carbone.io.
Right.
The templating system is great because you can customize everything to your 100% liking, but it's just a little annoying, as I think Eric has used it before. It's a little annoying to get working. The same thing with labels. These generate labels, just gonna be a 2x4 Avery tag. We can have some different templates for that too, but just so you can print out a PDF of sheet of labels without using P-Touch if you don't want to.
And as Matt said, this app is still undergoing heavy development. So this is like the perfect time for anybody. Tell us what you hate about it. Tell us what you want different. Tell us what's missing from it. because right now we're kind of just listening to only a few users. The more users that use it, the better all around product it could be. So please tell us what's missing, what you want, what you hate about it, and we'll do our best to make it better.
It's looking terrific. Let's go on to frequency coordination.
Yeah, let's go forward to go back. And here's Eric. And man, just let's talk about the good news of what the FCC does on a weekly basis for us to make our life more better, right? Gives us more spectrum, gives us all the latitude to do everything with. Nope, sorry, living in a parallel universe. This is not ours, is it? Here it is, do more with less. Donny, Matt, why don't you give us a little background on your relationship with Eric as it relates to frequency coordination here, and take us through some of these examples of both what's going on Broadway and what's out on the road.
So we were very lucky to have Eric be one of our initial beta testers, and he's actually been invaluable to the development of Chord. A lot of great feedback, input. Has done a great job also to sharing it with other people and getting other people to jump on board. And has been definitely stress testing it for us with all of his 50 shows per one file, which we love too. That's how you find all the little hidden bugs. And he's a great power user, been super helpful the whole way. And yeah, it's just been again, I've said this many times, but it's been an absolute pleasure working with him. And he's got some really cool stuff to show you guys.
Cool. Thank you so much. Just for introduction, I work at Sound Associates in Yonkers, and I took over in the RF room here during the pandemic when our previous RF coordinators stepped into other areas of their lives. And when I first started to do all the coordinations on Broadway and the tours, I said, let's use IAS because that's what had been used in the past. And I'm going to share my screen right now.
Oh, is that Donny?
It is, and I'm live on a webinar right now, Bob. Screen 2, here we go. And so your regular thing with IAS is that this is MJ on Broadway, and you have to look at all the theaters around it, and you'd have multiple zones. And if things had changed, you'd have to update the zone in both files. We're also dealing with 3 different shops doing coordinations for all of Broadway. So if we look at Broadway, you have 40 theaters all spaced around New York City, and some of them are sharing walls and sharing space. And it gets very complicated very quickly when you're dealing with multiple XML files on IAS. In April, one of my friends in the industry, he introduced me to SoundBase, and I started using it, doing one-offs in here and there, and then I started to use it more for Broadway. And as you know, this is the SoundBase project view where you can look at all your projects, and I have a job all New York City. And right now, all New York City, I've cleaned it up a little bit from when it was over 1,700 frequency items to, I think now I'm at 1,100. And I have all of these different sites in here that represent the different Broadway shows. The other 2 shops that do coordinations in New York are Mask and PRG. Mask is using it more and more. PRG, I hope, starts to use it. But I've been manually inputting their shows into SoundBase so I can deal with the interactions that need to happen between different theaters. So one show that's been a little bit of a pain is Some Like It Hot at the Schubert. And I just opened that site up, and I'm clicking over. I don't know if you can see my screen fine, but I have a bunch of different scans that have been run in the Schubert Theater. And this is one of them. But next thing that we can do is if we click up in the gear, we can look at our interactions, and Some Like It Hot is doing channel spacing interactions with A Beautiful Noise, Kimberly Akimbo, and Phantom, which is across the street. It's if I make a change at any of the other shows, or if another show makes a change, I can update it there and then go ahead and try to find a new frequency if one comes up, or if a TV channel all of a sudden becomes active. So that, and it runs flawlessly right now. They really quick to hop around to do that sort of stuff. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about or wants to see anything happen in the Broadway coordination.
Eric, why don't you
yes.
why don't you demo if you're having an issue with a frequency, how you can see what's nearby?
Oh yeah, this was a feature that I asked for. If let's say Some Like It Hot calls me up and says I'm having an issue with 569.675. Now, hopefully, I've turned all my interactions on correctly. But if I haven't, the search feature here is global, and I can go here and type 569.675, and it will find all the frequencies that are exactly that, but it'll also tell me what frequencies are nearby. And I think we're doing 500K from the search feature.
Yeah, I think so.
And that just kind of gives me a method to like try to see where problems might be. I'd love to see a miles from current site in the search results, but I just thought of that today actually. So that was an awesome feature that we asked for, or I asked for.
Question, do you ever
Yes.
try to sandwich a frequency in between two TV stations?
I do, and there is a way to get to that in the calculation settings for Chord. You can go ahead and look at the broadcast channels, and you can allow white space between active channels, and you can turn that on or off for that. Another great feature when you're looking for new frequencies or old frequencies is you can activate your exclusion threshold. So right now I have that enabled. It's set to -80. And what that means is that it wouldn't find any frequencies where you have these current carriers from different theaters in the area. This one's a little, I think that's actually, there you go. That's an incompatible frequency. I think I've mentioned in the past where I'd love to be able to add in the plot the other sites that this site is interacting with. Just so it's like, oh, let's see where is this carrier actually coming from? And I could probably do a search 560.56. So that might be Hadestown. It could be, just go on like that. Trying to think, I have Dancin' coming up on Broadway at the Music Box, and this is just a standard. I haven't even started the coordination for this, but the method, Google Earth Music Box Theater, is sharing wall space with the Richard Rodgers and the Imperial Theater. Richard Rodgers is where Hamilton is right now, so I have the frequency coordination list from PRG. The Imperial is one of our shows, and the Music Box is going to be one of our shows. And you got to be, okay, do I really need to care about the Booth Theater and the Schoenfeld across the street? And Spectrum is getting so valuable, you just got to say, let's see what happens. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of Broadway. I mean, I know it's simple, but it's been operating so flawlessly.
Question, interactions between theaters, can you do it just with the high power RF as opposed to 20 milliwatt wireless mics? If you have 250 milliwatt IFBs, can you only do interactions between them?
Mm-hmm. The way I've been using it, I don't think you can. I'm not sure. That might be a better question for Donnie and Matt. In the past, we've always ever done channel spacing between theater spaces.
The whole theater, right?
The whole thing in the theater. Sorry.
And that's been something that someone has actually requested before, is interactions at a group level, because we have them at site zone right now. Something we thought about, but we're not too sure.
Yeah, I don't think it hasn't come up yet where I need to do it. I'm also working with a bunch of the A2s on Broadway, where they're the ones who are actually in the theaters. They're the ones who are generating scans for me. And that's where being able to upload scans so quickly directly from the format that either Lectrosonics gives you, or Wireless Workbench, or WSM, drop it in really quickly. In IES, it's always been a little bit more complicated to drop a scan that somebody else has given you, because you have to go through a process.
Typically, do you give them some backup frequencies?
With things so tight they are, Broadway shows typically go out with backup gear, so they have frequencies built in, or spares built into their system. They might go out with 1 or 2 spare frequencies, but with things being so tight, it creates sometimes more headaches than it's worth when you're trying to squeeze so much in. And chances are, if something goes wrong, they'll throw a spare pack on a character, and they'll email me saying, "We got some hits yesterday. We need to figure out what's going on," and then I'll go ahead and generate some spare frequencies for them. If any other questions about
Sounds
larger
like you need
projects in the
something like Wave Tool in every single theater.
A lot of the theaters are using Wave Tool to do their RF monitoring, and that's a lot of people like using that for that reason. But again, I'm not in the theaters every night to be able to see what might or might not be happening.
So the end goal, as we discussed on last episode, is to have the plot have live scan data. So imagine Eric is at Sound Associates, and then every single theater has live scan data, and he can actually monitor and see everything that's happening in the theaters. And this project is a great demo of something with 1,100 frequencies, and quickly being able to search across multiple theaters all throughout a city.
And I guess, Eric, one of my questions for you, working with so many different A2s and vendors as well, have you found everybody's very open to kind of this collaboration? Is it making their life better?
It is making their life better. I mean, some people are definitely old school and like the PDF reports for shows, and some people have view-only access to the program in their particular site, so they can say, "I'm having issues," and they can request frequencies. So I know that. Hang on, I'm sorry, 1 second.
No worries.
I'm looking for an example.
Is there a way for them to request frequencies live in the software? So if you're watching it, you see their request come up?
Yes, there is. I haven't done that with many of the A2s yet, actually any of them, because I'm still the site permissions right now are, I'm going to be honest, just a little clunky to let only one person look at their one site in their entire project. And once that gets updated, so I can say this person only can see this thing, they can then go ahead and do frequency requests. And I'm not sure, Donny or Matt, is that able to happen on the live reports, where they can request?
Yeah, that's the goal. Right now,
where they can request frequencies.
Yeah.
That does not exist.
Yeah. So
For
most of the A2s that I've given access.
Eric, for
Yeah,
for
Peter.
this particular project, how many people have access to the file? Is it just the 3 coordinators on Broadway, or?
Right now, it's myself. Donny has access as view only. Michelle Morissette with Sennheiser. He's been playing with it, and I give him access to Eric Funky. And then Chris Burns, who's my assistant here. And then John Dory, who is at he's at Almost Famous right now.
And
that's where I
what
discovered that needed to.
and what you were just asking about is if somebody could have, instead of access to the entire app, access to only one theater.
Right, one site. So right now, if I go ahead and add a project by email, they they get access to the entire project, which is not something I want them to have. I just want them to have access to their particular site. And I haven't played with it in a couple of weeks to see if it's gotten easier yet. But that's a goal.
What does that mean, incompatible up top there? Is that a personal
right
flight?
now, Leopoldstadt has one. There's one bad IEM frequency that just isn't any good, but they're not using it. They're only running 3 channels of IEM, so I haven't removed the frequency from the coordination. But it's this easy to go ahead and remove a frequency from a site. Now, if looking at incompatible frequencies, going over to doing coordinations for the tours, we can actually do some examples of that, because I have some tours that actually need recoordination.
Matt and Don,
Unless we want to talk more about yours.
What kind of shows are typically using this? I know Broadway is certainly a perfect fit because of all the theaters right next to each other, but and tours maybe come in as well, but festivals, I think, would be a terrific use of this, where there's a dozen stages and different shows at different times during the day.
It's honestly been a mixture of everybody. A lot of corporate festivals. Eric's a great example of Broadway. Award shows, broadcast events. It's been a big mixture of people.
I think the important thing to let people know is it can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. I've done test coordinations myself with under 20 mouse clicks, and I have my coordination all done.
Yeah, I think my record right now we had a touring Coco Melon, which was a small RF show, but they were doing one-nighters. They just came back, and I was able to knock out their next 10 stops in about 25 minutes. And which was just in the past with IAS and having to keep track of all the file structure in the folders so things would make sense on my computer. It took at least 45 minutes to do the same thing.
So you were using the same hardware everywhere, just a different address every time.
Correct. And it's a great pivot to look at doing tours.
Yeah, that's great.
Right now.
Let's
so
look
I
at
have
those.
Come From Away, which Come From Away right now is moving. A lot of them are actually on hiatus right now, so I don't have that many to do today. But I'm going to open up Come From Away in Chord. And as we see up over here in the different sites, they're currently at the Bushnell Theater. And they haven't had any issues there. They're a couple of days in, but I have another window up in my browser with the next tour stop, and they're going to Ottawa, Ontario at the National Arts Center. So process to do that. I want to make sure I have the Bushnell selected in my current site. I'm going to click the gear so I can go ahead and look at my file manager. And in the file manager, you can go ahead and duplicate the site. You could also export the site down to your desktop or import a site that you've previously exported. So we're going to duplicate the site. And this is where you can go ahead and copy into the new site active broadcast channels, band plans, exclusions, single frequencies. I don't need to copy any of that over because we're dealing with a brand new location. So I'm going to confirm that. And it brings up the site editor and the site settings. We're going to go ahead and rename the site. So this is site number 13. And it's going to, oh, where was it? The National Art Center. I'm just copying and pasting in Ottawa, Ontario. And that's all I need to do here. I can do notes or other things. The site location isn't, you don't set the site location here in the site settings. You actually do that over in TV Scout. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to TV Scout right now, which is, they showed it on Tuesday about where you actually do your information. So National Arts Center, Ottawa, Ontario. And this is going to be an incredibly difficult show to coordinate against. Only one thing popped up for, I'm sorry, two things popped up. I can then, what I like to do is go to ScanRecon to see if anybody has uploaded a file from the location, and nobody has. So this is where I could look in my previous databases to see if I have anything for Ottawa to upload. Or because it's so sparse, I think I have 7 incompatible frequencies all the way down here in channel 14. Process for me right now, I go to incompatible and click up here, and I want to recalculate all incompatible frequencies. Now I know on Tuesday we touched about the different profiles and that both Sennheiser and Shure have for their products. And this was a change that I wanted them to SoundBase to implement before I started doing the tour coordinations, because if you went ahead and created an initial coordination using the robust profile, you'd be a little out of luck if you were going into places like Dallas, where a robust coordination would not be possible. You definitely want to change it to look at more frequencies. So they added this feature so I could change the profiles before going through, like in IIS, where you go ahead and do your global intermod tests. So I leave these all full up before I do my initial calculation, recalculate all incompatible. I'm going to do, this is a pretty actually open area, so I can robust, why not? Robust. And it will only recalculate the frequencies that are currently incompatible. Hit the button. Searching for results. And we wait patiently. No calculation results present. Don't know why. 5 frequencies could not be coordinated. So at this point, I go ahead and undo my recalculation. And it doesn't have an infinite amount of undos. You basically can undo the last thing that you just did. So you're going back to square one. And I'm going to try again. Recalculate all incompatible. We'll do standard, standard, and standard. And these are the different equipment profiles that I have in the thing. So I have, there are 2 instances of the A1 to A4 digital 6000s. It's because some of them were originally coordinated in the last coordination with more freaks, and some of them were recalculated with standard. So recalculate. Five frequencies. So now I got to figure out why it actually isn't finding those frequencies. Do recalculation.
This is what we love about live demos, because this is life. This is how using software in our world, you know, the tools that we have now, man, I gotta say, I do not miss the 3.5-inch floppy days of Turbo RF and a few of those other ones, which were awesome, right? But man,
so
fast forward 30 years, you know.
So right now it found everything except one incompatible frequency. So at this point, probably I would go ahead
Turn off triple
and let's
beats.
turn
right?
thirds of thirds off. And turn off triple beats and recalculate all incompatible. Let's see if we can find with a
It's only
standard
doing that
calculation.
one frequency now.
Only doing that one frequency. It moved it, no problem. You'll notice that we have a green underlined frequency for everything that was recalculated. And then for this company, what I've been doing, I've been generating a PDF, doing a basic edit, and then sending it off to them. But I've also been sending the live report. So I enabled the live report, clicking the gear, and this is just for the zone. And what they will see when they open it up is I'm not a robot. And if I open them all up, you'll see little info icons that tell them that this is a changed frequency. And if I click the little caret next to the frequency word, it blows it up and it shows me the date that the frequency was changed, the old frequency and the new frequency. And this is what the A2s over there see. They'll go ahead and program this thing. And then I get an email typically Tuesday night, no, Monday night with an updated scan that they send me and say, everything looks really good, but here's a scan, or we're seeing some issues on channels 6, 7, 8, and 9, or whatever it might be. And then I go into Core the next day and upload their scan, see if the real life is different than what the FCC is telling me it is, and make changes where there needed to be made changes. It's
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask about. Is that
managed file structure?
Yeah, the touring companies are doing scans and getting back to you as soon as they can, so that you can keep them
Yes.
up to date.
Yeah. It also it's a way to, let's see, if I look at all the files that I've uploaded, I don't know what I'm at, 276 or something like that. At this point,
Yeah, you
I don't
win.
know
You
if
have
they're
the
all on the
most.
display right now.
You win. You have the most.
But the tours are all helping with that because, and when I took over in the RF room here, they had just finished the migration going over for DTV. So there was no historical data for a lot of these venues because COVID had been going down, and it was imperative that people send scans because I'm not in the field for all these tours. I think I got 15 tours and X number of Broadway shows. So on IAS, usually I have to start just before lunch to get everything done, hopefully before the end of the day, and it's just a lot quicker. And being able to share the files, CocoMelon is a great example. I just gave them access view only, and I didn't even have to email them anything. They just went onto the website, they chose what site they were in, and they were off to the races to make their changes.
Just to show the people that are watching, could you show us the map of all the uploaded scans people have done around the world?
Yeah, so let's see, scan recon, search SoundBase. This is gonna, well, Ottawa, there's not much there. So this is live data for, I don't know, so there you go. That's
And
everything
then you
in
can
New
go
York,
over
and the
in
US
Europe
right
and
now.
see the same thing.
Something to note is that all of these scan
So-
files are no more than like 13 months old. So as the product matures,
Yeah.
we'll have much more.
I
got a great thing that happened in.
I had a map just like that on my website, and I've just recently taken it off. I'm going to be putting a reference to SoundBase on my website instead.
This is Bat Out of Hell, which is a horrible. They're in Vegas right now, and the 2 days ago. Hang on. For some reason, sometimes it hangs up on selecting a scan. There was all this free space in channel 33. Nothing. No, I mean, you could definitely put frequent channels there. And then they sent me a scan that I uploaded. Did I choose the wrong one? Nope. There it is. That was very annoying. Had a very horrible show, so we had to move a bunch of stuff. And I've literally been in line at Carter's buying clothes for my daughter, and people have called me up for coordination and pulled it up on my phone and been able to find them spare frequencies. And it's been not having to wait to go to my computer to open up IAS has been great. So I'm definitely a proponent. If you can't tell, I like it.
But how much are you being paid?
I'm not being paid anything.
Yeah,
I'm being
right.
paid in quick feature requests.
There you go. That's
This would be great to have. I mean, if it saves me time, that's worth it in spades. And that's what it is, because having to do coordinations for 15 tours and help manage Broadway and build the wireless racks for our shows that are going out, it's fleeting.
time is literally money.
Excuse me.
So I've got a question for
It
the
is, and anything that
the attendees. If you'd like to see one particular feature demonstrated again, please just leave a question.
Yeah. Oh, I have a great feature. Let's look at a tour that happening is you're going into a venue and they email you, or they email the A2, hey, we have this other show going on downstairs or upstairs, and here's the list of frequencies that's going on. You know what? I'm gonna use Cocomelon as an example because they've closed, and I can futz with them and not have any worries. So again, we're gonna go quick process. I'm gonna go up here to the sites, the Orpheum. There you go. They were just came back from Devos, and I'm gonna clone the site. The gear, file manager, duplicate site. Don't care about any of that, or at least for right now.
I think this is a great example that Eric doesn't get
And I'm gonna
great
go-
scan files every time.
Yeah, well,
That one was a
we're not
low
gonna do
quality
scans,
scan
but
file.
if yeah, well, they were doing one-offs, so, and they had plenty of spares built into their system that they were able to. Name is required. That's me. Test for save. Now I can go ahead and upload. I have this Excel document. I actually prepared for this. Here's the list of frequencies that somebody gave me. I'm just going to copy it into the clipboard. Oh, cancel. And then I'm going to go ahead and create. Oh, sorry. I'm going to add static frequencies. And what it's going to do, I can do a manually entry, or I can import a file, which I haven't done because it's just as easy to paste this. And what this is going to do is going to drop all of these frequencies into an additional group. It's not going to do any checking. It's not going to do any calculations against them. But what it's going to look at is channel spacing for the next coordination.
Right,
so
because I think
they
that's
are
always
down
the
here.
challenge. You know, we get
So
somebody's
put them all
list and
in.
I'm not going to fix them.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, because they're set. You're not in charge of their sort of stuff. So I just dropped these frequencies into the list. I can then go ahead and do a coordination, and hopefully it checks for channel spacing against these, and move on from there. That was a big thing. Just being able to add those frequencies really, really quickly.
Yeah, you can see right there.
Yeah. What else is awesome that I like?
And I saw you had your two-way radios in there, it looked like.
Yeah, we we do an LMR coordinations, but for land mobile radios, but we have our own set of frequencies that we own that we've been sending the tours out with, and don't need to worry about them as much right now. But I can program them if we need to. But trying to stay above board with LMR if we can.
Understood.
I think that is that's kind of an outline of how I've been using the software.
Could you do
if there are any other questions, I'll happily.
Could you
try
do a quick coordination of an imaginary show with as few clicks as possible, no scan whatsoever, just enter an
Sure.
address.
So let's go ahead. Yep. Let's do a new coordination. Where do we want it to be?
Your address, my address, anywhere.
Music hall. And you don't even need to put a project start or project end date if you don't want to.
Nope. And add a dozen
that's
ULXD or something.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not going to import a scan, but this is pretty accurate to what's going on in Dallas. So profile type, I'm going to use the default ones for Cord. Manufacturer, I'm going to click on Shore, and then model. We're going to go to ULXD4Q. I'd love there to be an overlay for once I select the model for what frequencies these different things sit at, but we'll do G50s.
Right.
Yeah, and then let's see how many we can get. Standard RF profile. I'm going to click search. I found 43 results, and then go ahead. I'm going to add them all to the show.
That was not the high
And
def
then
version,
here's
right?
a feature. No, it was not the high def version. And then the one of the first features that they showed me that basically sold me on the software. I don't know how many people have numbered channels or named channels in IES, but it was not as easy as doing this. So,
but it takes so long
and ready to go. But it takes so long. I know it's really is a painful, and it also
now if you wanted to send those frequencies out to somebody, how would you do that?
I would go ahead and click the gear up here next to the zone. I'd enable this information as a read-only report, and then this go ahead. I can email the link. Hopefully, it would open up my web browser, and I could say to Donny Kuser, here you go. And it's done.
And that's a live
I
link.
don't know, that was a minute.
Is that a live link?
Yeah, that's a live link. So if
they say,
yeah, so if
this one
Donny was to
doesn't seem
open that up
work
on
for
his
me,
computer,
you change it and it changes on their list.
Yeah, I can do that here. So if I'm gonna open that link in another window here. I'm not a robot. There they all are. Oh, I don't want to use this numbering scheme. Can we do something else? The A2 complains. I can go ahead. I'm going to close this window. I can go ahead and auto enumerate again, and they say I want them to. These are going on monkeys for some reason. Starting number is 1, and we're going to use 2 numbers of digits. Monkeys 1. If I go back over to the read-only thing, it changed instantly. We want to go ahead. Oh, we want 12 of these frequencies to be in a different group for some reason. I can go ahead and create the new group. This is going to be Group A. We can go ahead and select the top frequency and scroll down. I can shift click to select a bunch. And then I can go ahead and I say, I want to move those selected frequencies. I click the little ellipses here to Group A, move. I also want Group A to be a different color. Read only. There it is down at the bottom. It's fast, it's easy, and I can imagine A2s who are out in the field, especially on festivals, it'd be easy to keep things organized for them.
Yeah, there's my iPad, got the browser open, instantly updated.
Yeah. Default zone. What other cool?
And that could be
things
sent
are
as
there?
a live link to a text, right?
Yes, I can. I mean, I'm using Windows based here, but if I was using my Mac with iMessages, I could just send it as a text message because it could be opened up in any browser. I mean, hopefully people have their phones on them looking at emails and they could just open it up and it would show up as on their phone in a browser.
And so my team's there, they get me a scan. You're going to instantly add that to the coordination. You can reconfirm, fix, and meanwhile, they're still going to that same link, getting their fresh frequencies.
Right. Yeah. And
Eric,
I mean, as you saw with the
use,
link, if I was to change this, yeah.
You use a custom export, right?
What kind of
For
export?
the report export, like with Sound Associates.
Oh yeah, I haven't dived too much into. I've dived a little bit into it because I wanted to edit some stuff on the PDF report. If I want to generate the PDF report, click on the gear. Sorry, nope. Drop down here, create zone report. You could also download this information for Wireless Workbench IIS. You could also import from IIS an XML file, but create zone report. We go ahead and I'm the coordinator. It comes out as a PDF. I'm going to use the one that I've modified. And I can manage report content. The A2 probably doesn't care as much about some of this information. They just want to see the frequencies. I'm also going to view the PDF before saving, because I don't necessarily, if I just need to print a hard copy, I don't need to save hundreds of PDFs onto my desktop. Generate it, and I put the Sound Associates logo up here, and I kept the SoundBase logo down low to give credit where credit is due. And I could print this out and hand this to shows and people like that.
And you can see that the colors from your groups reflect on your reports and on your real-time reports.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I can go ahead and move the real-time reports aside. This little button minimizes all your groups. So I can literally drag and drop, and that will go ahead. It's not going to obviously update the live report or the PDF report, but it updated the live report.
Which makes it easier. So
All
when
in all,
an A2
it's
goes,
really-
hey, the yellow group the yellow group has an issue, then it's really easy for Eric to locate it, or
Mhm. Still, oh, there we go. So yeah, I'm trying to think of any other awesome features that, lot settings, default start, default stop.
If you do a coordination with some frequencies in the duplex gap or in 900 or in 2.4, is there any way to put a note on the exported frequency list of limitations that should be applied to those frequencies, like power limitations, etc.?
And I don't know much about modifying the reports. I'm sure you can create some sort of if-then. If frequencies exist in duplex gap, print this note at the bottom of the report. But I figuring out how to just do the header was enough for me for one go. I've tried to, if we look at changing frequencies right now, if I was to recalculate a frequency for whatever reason, which I just clicking the arrow, the ellipses next to the frequency, we can go ahead and click recalculate frequencies. Not going to change. This is where you can change the RF profile. If you have a band plan, in the system for that frequency, you can keep the band plan or take it out of the band plan. But click recalculate, and there it found another frequency. Hit set. Did I not hit set? Nope, 476. There it goes. It changed, but the actual PDF report, click in the default zone, create the zone report. I'm just going to view it right there like that. Right now, it only puts a little icon right next to the frequency, and I love for it to change color the entire row or something like that. And I tried diving into that, but I ran out of time because that's not as obvious as the IES reports, where it crosses out the old frequency and changes the color to a new frequency.
Now, if people that have downloaded or set up an account in the beta account in SoundBase, so they can try this out, which of course all of you listening can do, have an idea, how would they give you this idea in the bug report?
It can come any which way.
Oh, for Donny?
Like, I think one of the things that happened with Eric at Mask was they wanted a way of designating incompatible frequencies in the report. And like Eric said, dealing with this report templating, while it's very powerful, it's very frustrating and time consuming. So I had a little more experience with it. So I just put that into our default template. So if there's a thing on the actual PDF reports that you want changed, we prefer the user to edit the template themselves and upload their own custom template rather than us implementing that at SoundBase level.
Yeah, and downloading the template was incredibly easy. Making the changes was relatively easy. There's a little bit of programming, and the Carbone.io website is not the easiest thing to dig around into to figure out how to do certain things.
So we should just send
so I
everybody
just
to
haven't
you
had-
if they want changes.
Yeah, on the Discord, they're very, very, very responsive. Literally, this morning I asked if they could create a CSV export, because I was telling them earlier there's a broadcast tower turning on in New York City right now, and I wanted a way to print out a CSV of all New York City, so I can go ahead and look at it and try to, okay, how many of my shows are on channel 21 and what exactly do I need? How much work do I have coming up? And he pushed it out with the update, I don't know, a couple of hours later. I was very happy. Yeah, so this is all the frequencies. I just want to look at, sorry, this is really tiny on some of people's screens. And then this is these are the problems that we're going to have to fix on Broadway right now. This is not
Because
just
of the new channel 21.
Channel 21. Yeah, new channel 21 turning on at the beginning of the year.
Right. So now when 21 turns on, will you request new scan data then from each of your theaters?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to get ahead of it along with the other shops and just make an assumption that we're going to have problems. Because when you have 40 shows on Broadway and they all power up at a certain time on when the transmitter turns on for the first time, it's not fun to try to solve that problem, because you have multiple shows. Again, they're all sharing walls and everybody tries to go to the same channel or something that might work, and you end up stepping on each other. And it's but obviously after they do turn everything on, I'd love to I'd get scans from each theater, and we'll know for real how big of a problem channel 21 is going to turn into.
Warning them they need to move, or giving them new frequencies to move to?
Yeah, I'm probably going to email them a heads up saying we're going to have potential issues in early January and we're working on sorting it out. Here's some temporary new frequency or new frequencies that will solve the problem, hopefully, and go live. But I mean, you're dealing with changing frequencies that are already incredibly tight for certain shows, where it's just going to be, you have to figure out, can we just send them new equipment? And do we have the new equipment to send them? Some Like It Hot at the Schubert is an entirely analog RF package running 65 frequencies right now. And let's see, 6 of their frequencies, oh, that's the wrong channel. 7 of their frequencies, or 5 of their frequencies are currently in channel 21. And the frequencies that are in channel 21 are SSMs, A1 range. And this is already only checking for thirds in the entire show to get this all to fit in. So
Now in this particular show,
It's
you've
not
got
fun.
some RF that are on weekday TV in the channel, like up in right in there, 29,
Yeah.
28. Are those ULXDs or Accent?
No, these are 5212s. This entire show is 5212s and Electrosonics SSMs. And that was a equipment availability issue. It was also might have been a budgetary issue. That's above my pay grade. I can make recommendations. I can tell them it's going to be lousy. I'm going to tell them that you're going to have issues, and we just try to solve it. They're not running at a full complement right now anyway, because of not all 65 of these frequencies are happy frequencies right now.
Right. So it seems like without this particular product, this would be a daunting task.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be able to get it done in IES, but in IES, if another shop says, I changed some frequencies, okay, you have to open up each show file that show is a zone in. Because if we looked at the Google Earth map right now, if we were looking at this area right here, you got 7 theaters within. I mean, they definitely do interact. If the booth went ahead and changed a couple of frequencies, and now I would need to go open up my file for the Gerald Schoenfeld, the Broadhurst, and Schubert, and upgrade them, because these again aren't all one shop's theaters that we're dealing with. And that's the way it was done before I took over NIS. And could you go ahead and create one IS project with all of these sites in it? Not really, because the booth theater probably isn't as close enough to the Majestic to really need to worry about it for channel spacing. Oh, that's a good question. Somebody asked, can you see TV channel in the calculated frequency list on the left? And right now, no. If you
Yeah, that would have been
go
another
ahead and
helpful
look at the
thing for
frequency
your
details.
report.
Yeah, but I still have to open up each show that affects me. That's why I asked you to put the TV channel in the system. I don't even know if it shows it doesn't show it in the details what TV channel it's in.
Yeah, it's only on the candidates list.
What I know I mentioned. Yeah, what I know I mentioned is that I'd love it for when you go ahead and select a channel like this to have some sort of indication across the top of the plot what frequency you selected. Just so, okay, of course, there it is, and you can go ahead and zoom in on that particular frequency. I know you can go ahead and right-click and focus the frequency or center it, but that's a little too close in some instances. There you go. Any other questions, comments?
I'm here just trying to take it all in as quickly as I can, because
Yeah, it took me
awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when I started using it in April, I mean, we went ahead and created a Discord chat ourselves, and it goes, I don't know how many messages it goes back, but they've been incredibly responsive to working things out. The site profile, being able to change the profiles for the equipment on recoordination was a big thing, because I didn't want to go ahead and create coordinations with only using more frequencies knowing that going forward into the next tour stops, you might want to change them for standard or robust. So that was making that change all of a sudden turned it into a game changer for the tour. I wouldn't have been able to do the tours without doing that, because in IIS, all you can do right now is change your intermod calculation settings. And that's like using a sledgehammer when you don't necessarily need to. You can go ahead and let's just use the profiles that the manufacturers recommend.
And that kind of goes back to a collaborative effort. Eric, giving us feedback and us implementing it, even just from the Practical Show Tech 2 days ago. We've actually pushed an update live this morning with all the fixes from all the users Practical Show Tech brought to the product and people giving us feedback. So if Eric goes to what's new, you can actually see the release notes.
Drop down on the 22nd. And here it is. Where is it? Added project-wide frequency CSV download to core project menu. That was literally, I requested that early this morning and they just dropped it. They were able to sneak it in.
And these are all things that people had messaged us from Practical Show Tech or after the meeting.
The beauty of collaboration.
But there are only two of them. There are only two of you guys.
Oh man. So Donnie and Matt, I think, obviously several of the big takeaways we've discovered from the last couple episodes here is first and foremost that you guys are committed to not just reacting but interacting with the marketplace, with how we need to use this software. The idea of online collaboration, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. We're really grateful for that. The tools that's brought us. Really, I am so impressed by what you've pulled together through not just your experience, but the commitment to really building out something for our industry that's in this such a broad beta. Obviously, everybody who's watching this live as well as later on, make sure you sign up for this. Software truly gets better the more people that use it, and only because Donnie and Matt are committed to making it better. Not every software manufacturer necessarily shares their same philosophy, and while I can understand that, it's essential in today's marketplace. So thanks for sharing that with us. Mac, Pete, you got any closing thoughts?
I just would like to say that it was a fantastic demonstration. I mean, I think that the situation that Eric is in is, I hate to say pretty unique, because unique is a solo thing, but there's not many people that have to deal with that kind of coordination. But the fact that he has been able to do this with relative ease is just blows me away. I mean, that just astounding how well that works.
Yeah, I figured while the software is being developed actively, why not participate in developing it so you can make it exactly how you want it to work? And if it helps other people at the same time, why not? But I'm in it for.
But it's absolutely helping other people at the same time.
It is truly amazing, Mac, what it can do, and the ideas you have for the future, i.e., directly controlling updating of hardware and live scan interfacing from other equipment, that kind of stuff. It's going to make our shrinking RF spectrum fairly easy to deal with.
Yeah, and to that point, Pete, I'd like to throw a little challenge out there to all those manufacturers we work with. When you have a company like Showcode step up and really step out and you know, I'll say take a risk, take a leap, make an investment that, you know, isn't necessarily, you know, right now, you know, I'm not writing that monthly subscription price to them. And, you know, the rest of the world. And I think that's something we have to be grateful for. But I do believe manufacturers step up, help them out, give them that access that is appropriate. I understand everybody has their, you know, limitations of how far, you know, a third party can get in and do things. But I think what we're asking for and what we need in the market isn't, you know, we're not asking for the world here. Maybe if we were asking for it for free. But that is the challenge I'd put out to the broader industry, is that collaboration really is essential to this spectrum that's going away. You know, Eric pointed out very clearly, you know, literally what'll feel like overnight, another TV channel will disappear. You know, thank God it's not being sold for another cell phone carrier, but either way, it's not available in the New York space anymore. And this is only going to happen more. And how we react to that, the ability to manage not just the frequencies, but the information, who's using what, when, where, in systems, say in 1.9 and 5 gig and 2.4, where maybe we don't have direct control of where that particular product's going to be used. Knowing who is where and when, that's a big deal. So thank you, Donny. Thank you, Matt, for really the commitment you've made to our industry. And, you know, we'll be looking forward to all those new updates, and obviously Pete's site, you know, he will, dude, you got your own development company behind you. They're making labels just for you. So there you go. But it's really awesome to see where we're headed. And thanks everybody for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, and on that note, everybody have a great evening, morning, wherever in the world you're watching this. And we'll look forward to the next topic that we'll be getting together on. So long and have a great one.
And have a Merry Christmas.
And that as well.